So this is the first lesson of our new unit, which has to do with circles. Today we're going to look at equations of circles. Now a circle is a set of all points in a plane at a given distance called the radius from a given point called the center. So that's a little bit technical, but basically what it's saying is that if we have a point, make that a little bit smaller. If we have a point, then the set of points around that point that's the same distance away. So, this point might be, 1 inch away. This point might be 1 inch away, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. So all of these points I'm going to say are about 1 inch away. Okay, all of those points are, say, 1 inch away, and they make up eventually a circle. They all have that same distance, which we're calling the radius. So this might be 1 inch, this might be 1 inch, this might be 1 inch, this might be 1 inch. And all those collections of points wind up being a circle. So here's a better circle. We have just basically a bunch of points on here. So all of these are the same distance away. So the distance from this point to that center is going to be the same distance as this point to that center or this point to that center. And I can just keep going around and around and around and do many, many, many points, and it'll eventually make up a circle. So a few vocabulary words here. A line segment connecting 2 points on the circle and going through the center is called the diameter. So for example, maybe I go from this point over to that point. That is called a diameter. Now only half of it, say from here to here, that's called a radius. So all of these here are radii. So every line I'm drawing is a radius. Okay, we call the center of a circle, if it's a point, we'll reference it as h comma k. That's just kind of what they use in the math terms. And the radius we'll express as r. So an equation of a circle is just like we have equation of a line. An equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. There's a special equation for a line. There's a special equation for a circle. And the equation of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where h and k are the center of the circle, r is the radius, and then x and y are just some other random points on the circle. Now, I would, if we were in class, I would have used the distance formula to derive it. I'm choosing not to do that here. I'm going to put a link, though, that will show you how it's done for anyone who is interested. So again, equations of circles would be, this is like very important. You're going to want to know this. We'll be using this for the next 2 days. But x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That is our equation of a circle. Again, h and k represent the radius, represent the center, and r represents the radius. So h and k represent the center, and r represents the radius. So for all of these here, a through f, we have equations of circles. They're all in that form of x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. They're all in that form, so they're all equations of circles. If you ever have an x squared and a y squared, that is a circle. We want to determine the center and the radius. Okay, so first we have our center. So I have to think about what h and k would need to be if I were to put it back into x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So h would need to be 5 and k would need to be just 2. So my center of my circle would be 5, 2. And the radius, well, this over here represents r squared. So this over here represents r squared. So then the radius, just r, if this is r squared, well then the radius is the square root of 25, which is just 5. Okay, so a couple of things here. The center is going to be opposite of this. So if this is -5, it's going to be, if it's -5, -2, it's going to be 5, 2. And the radius is the square root of this number. That's kind of the easiest way to think about it. So if I'm looking at B, opposite, the center is going to be opposite. So center is -4, 1. And the radius is going to be the square root of this, because again, this is r squared. So to get just r, we're going to do the square root of 100, which is 10. Okay, we'll look at this next one. It's just x squared. There's no parentheses here. But if there were parentheses, think about what it would be. It would be x, well, there's nothing there, so it's going to be x minus 0 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 1. So in this case, our center is opposite, so 0 and positive 3. And the radius is going to be square root of 1, which is just 1. Okay, so moving on to this next one. Okay, so take a moment and think about what it would be. Your center is going to be -4, 0. And the radius is going to be the square root of 16, which is just 4. Okay, for this one, well, there's nothing here, so center has to be 0, 0. It's at the origin. And the radius would be 3. And the last one, opposite, so -2, -5 is our center. And the radius is 9. Take a look at a multiple choice question. So this time they're giving us the center and they're giving us the radius. We have to come up with the equation. So we're going to go back to our equation of a circle, which is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. The center is h and k, and the radius is r. So if we're substituting everything in, x minus, okay, h is -5, so x minus a -5. X minus a -5 is really x plus 5 plus y minus 4 squared equals the radius squared, so 7 squared, but we know 7 squared is just 49. So we can eliminate 1 and 3. Choice 4. Okay, what is an equation of circle O shown in the graph below? In order to write any equation of a circle, we need two things. We need the center, which they outright just tell us it's -2, 2. And we need the radius, which they don't tell us, but we'll just kind of take a look. The radius is from the center to a point on the circle. So I'm going to take a point that's a kind of a nice point right here. And the radius would be 1, 2, 3. That is a distance of 3. So the radius is 3. And we'll go ahead and put it into our equation of a circle. So x minus a -2. X minus a -2 is x plus 2 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals radius squared, so r squared. 3 squared is 9. Okay, that's looking like it is choice 1. Okay, moving on, exercise 4 here. Okay, we have an equation. What are the coordinates of its center and the length of its radius? Center is going to be straightforward. It's going to be h and k. So it would need to be 1 and -3. Remember, it's going to be opposite signs. And then the radius, okay, well that's 32, but again, that represents r squared. So r squared is 32. To get just r, we need to square root both sides. So r is the square root of 32. All right, well, it's not, square root of 32 is not 16, so that's out. So obviously it's going to be 4 radical 2. We need to break it down. It's square root of 16 square root of 2, which is 4 radical 2. Okay, so we're looking at choice 4 here. Okay, exercise 5, write an equation of the circle whose diameter AB has those endpoints. Okay. So let's maybe map this out here. So negative 4, 2. So that's A. And B is 4, negative 4. And that's B. And they're telling us that this here is a diameter. So that's a diameter. Okay. We need 2 things when we write an equation of a circle. We need the center and we need the radius. Okay, so if you remember the definition of a diameter of a circle has to go through the center. The diameter of a circle has to go through the center. So to find the center of this circle, let's find the midpoint of the diameter. We can kind of eyeball it and see that it's right there, but midpoint would be x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So if I take my 2 endpoints of my diameter, negative 4 plus 4 divided by 2, and 2 minus 4 divided by 2, that's going to give us 0, negative 1, which is what I got just kind of eyeballing it. So that is the center. Now we need the length of the radius. So I said a key word there. I said length. So we need to think about what we would need in order to find length. Length would be our distance formula. So distance equals square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So what are we going to find the length of? We're going to find the length of the radius. So radius, if I'm kind of drawing this out here, here's my center now. So radius I could find either from the center, we could find from the center to A or from the center to B. It doesn't make a difference. I'll do center to A. So I'm going to find the distance of this line segment. So I'm going to use point A. I'm going to use the center in the distance formula. So going ahead, doing our distance formula, distance equals x minus x, so 0 minus a negative 4 squared plus negative 1 minus 2 squared. Okay, when we do that, 4 squared is 16, negative 3 squared is 9. That's going to be the square root of 25. So we get a distance of 5. That's our radius. So we have everything we need. We have our center. We have our radius. So now we just need to put it all together and write the equation of the circle. So our equation of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, so y minus a negative 1 equals r squared. I'm going to simplify this a bit, just make it a little bit nicer looking. It's just going to be x squared plus y plus 1 squared equals 25. Yes, this answer is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. This is just a more simplified version of that, which is a little bit better to see. Okay, just another type of question here. So it's talking about a circle having a center of 1, negative 2, and a radius of 4. We want to know if this point lies on that circle. Okay, so let's figure out what the equation of that circle is. So the equation of that circle is going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, so 4 squared is 16. So basically, if we substitute in these values for x and y, if we substitute in these values for x and y, it needs to equal 16. If it doesn't equal 16, then this point must not lie on the line. All of our points need to come out to give us 16. So let's go ahead and see. So 3.4 minus 1 squared plus 1.2 plus 2 squared, does that equal, I'm going to put a little question mark here, does that equal 16? So at this point we're going to go to our calculator and check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in 3.4 minus 1 squared plus 1.2 plus 2 squared, and let's see, does it equal 16? It does. So 16 equals 16. 16 equals 16. So we could say yes, 3.4 comma 1.2 lies on the circle. Just says justify, so our work is enough. So we have one more. Why don't you go ahead and try it on your own? So this is what I had. Substituting in, we get 34 does not equal 36. So no, 6 negative 2 does not lie on the circle. Okay, so there's some extra practice questions. If you would like to do them, you do not need to. And that's it. So I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.